tuning into the My Positive Perspective Internet Show today, where we feature individuals and groups who share the common goal of improving the overall Charleston community. Today's episode is brought to you by Gatorade, a great way to quench your thirst. In today's episode, I have with me guest David Griffin. So how you doing, David?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing good, good.
Great.
And David wrote a book that was in honor of the Charleston Nine and following the fire tragedy on the mattress store in 2007.
2007.
Yeah, and one of the questions I want to ask you was, how long after the tragedy did you think about writing a book?
It took some time. It was a couple of years after the tragedy. Once the tragedy happened, I spiraled into kind of a personal abyss, I guess you would say. So it took me some time to realize that from that abyss I could come out and do something that was meaningful from this tragedy and try to turn a negative into a positive.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a couple of years. I was doing some other things in my life. Like I mentioned before, I was drinking a lot. I was taking a lot of prescription drugs. Doing a lot of mixed martial arts fighting, which was kind of my way to self-medicate what I was going through. And one day after a fight, I said, there's more that I can do to honor those 9 firefighters so they don't die in vain. So that's where the idea to go back to school and get my doctorate and to write a research project, which I would turn into a book to show other organizations what we've gone through as people and as organization on following that, June 18th, 2007. So it took some time for me to realize I had my head in the sand for a while. I didn't want to listen to new ideas or new techniques in the fire service, but once I brought my head out of the sand and realized that there's something that we can do from this tragedy, it made a positive out of it.
Sure. And of course you're a firefighter before this incident.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, how easy or difficult is it to remember your training and to remain calm and composed when you're in those life-threatening situations?
It's very difficult, especially on that day. I had just been promoted to a new position as an assistant engineer, so that means I would actually pump the fire. I would pump water to the lines, and that was my first working fire that I was pumping. So I was very stressed that day, trying to wrap my head around what I was doing. So it took me a lot to calm myself that day, and I didn't really calm myself to the level I needed to that day because of lack of experience and training. But now that's what I've kind of dedicated myself to. I'm a training instructor in Charleston.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. I push the new recruits, the incumbent firefighters, to try to make them better so they generally understand that I care for them and I want to make them the best they can be at being a firefighter, but also on the stress side, not being so stressed in those life-threatening situations, because we're called to a situation that's the worst day of someone's life, but we have to stay composed and not be chaotic to make sure they feel comfortable with us. So that's something that I'm really passionate about teaching to my fellow firefighters in Charleston.
Yeah, and is that one of the really? I'm sure that's one of the toughest things it is for a firefighter or a policeman or any emergency responder to do, is to remain calm and professional, really, because like you said, the person that you're helping is going to be a little chaotic as it is. So you really need to help kind of shut that down,
right.
and be like, look, this has already happened.
Right.
We need to slow this thing down. We need to stop it. And of course, you mentioned how difficult it is when you go in to these situations, but I recently spoke to a police officer, and he said, when I'm responding to life-threatening situations, I realize that the slower is faster.
100%.
He said, I can get in my car and drive 120 miles on the Savannah Highway after something or somebody, but if I don't make it to the place I'm getting safely, then I have then there's 2 problems that got to be fixed.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So what kind of advice would you have after doing all your research to other firefighters?
Well, like you said, actually, slow is faster, and that's what we teach our recruits. We do a drill called stress inoculation, and if you want to Google that term, it basically comes from post-traumatic stress disorder. It's where they take something that stresses you out, and you work through a process to train yourself to where it doesn't stress you out. Well, we take our new recruits and we put them in these situations in a burning building, in a situation where they're very uncomfortable and stressed, and we do it over and over and over again until the end of their recruit school. They're not stressed anymore because we have inoculated them to that stressful environment. To now they go out in the field, and that happens the first shift. They're 100% capable of performing on the job, whereas before, if we didn't do that, we have a green firefighter that could hurt himself or hurt other firefighters or citizens. So the stress inoculation portion is something that I would advise other people in the public service industry to utilize, and it's something that you'd have to get out there and research, but it's very important when we're training first responders.
Sure. And then how has it helped you to be able to compile research, to be able to write a book in response to a tragedy? I mean, to your tragedy. I mean, I'm sure it had to help you become a much better person.
It helped me a lot. It helped me see things that I had never seen before. Personalities, understand what people were going through, understand that people go through the grieving process much differently. Some people are okay with it, some people aren't, some people it takes a long time to get over it. But it helped me understand what everyone is going through. It also helps me understand in other organizations when someone loses somebody, I know what they're going through, and that's the point of this. I want them to be able to pick up this book and say, okay, Charleston lost 9 firefighters. How can we use this research to make sure it doesn't happen again, and to make sure our organization is improving to the level to where it doesn't happen again? So I think my term for this book is that it saves lives, because I generally think it will save lives because of the research that comes from people that have been through a multiple line of duty death where they lost 9 of their brothers in a warehouse fire.
Yeah. If someone would like to get a hold of this book, how would they get a hold of it?
You can. It's on Amazon.com. It just reached number 8 on the top 100 research bestsellers list on Amazon.com, which we're very excited about. You can go through my website, which is drdavidgriffin.com. You can get it through there as well, and a portion of all the proceeds goes to the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. So we're very excited to be able to do that, to use this research to benefit an organization that helps fallen firefighters.
Well, tremendous, and I certainly applaud you and your resistance to not giving in and not being a victim. Because you could have let yourself be a victim for your whole life if you wanted to, and nobody would have said anything to you, but you chose to get up and realize that you were in that situation for a reason. And turning it into a positive perspective.
And that's what I always tell people. They always ask me, why'd you stay? And I said, why would I leave? It's easy to walk away, but it's much harder to stay and actually do something to make sure that the people that you work with and that this situation doesn't happen again. And that's what my passion is. I want to make sure that we're safe and we have what we need.
Yeah, and I certainly think the world is a better place because of people like you, David. Certainly do. So thank you for joining me on My Positive Perspective.
Enjoyed it.
Thank y'all for tuning in to My Positive Perspective, and have a great day.
On a sunny day, I feel my thoughts drift away. Only good vibes and good times living in my brain. On a sunny day, catch me lamping in the shade, feeling so fine and so high. Oh, my sunny days, still I hope all my efforts will one day pan out. The love within you'll never be without. So I roll, feeling strong and so invincible.